Hey, welcome back to the show. It's good to be back in front of this mic. It's been a while, hasn't it? If you've been checking the feed, waiting for something new to drop, yeah, that's been about 7 months now. And I just want to say thank you for sticking around. That actually means a lot to me. More than a quick, thanks for your patience kind of statement, but here's the honest version of what happened. Life got busy, work got loud, and somewhere in the middle of all of it, the podcast quietly slipped to the back burner. Not because I stopped caring about it. If anything, it's the opposite. There were a bunch of nights where I think I should be recording right now, and then the day would just swallow me. You know how it goes, right? But here's the thing. I never stopped collecting ideas. My note app is a disaster. Really a disaster. Voice memos to myself at red lights. Half-formed thoughts scribbled on the papers. That kind of thing, And out of all of it, this next topic is that one that kept rising back to the top. It's something I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. And honestly, I think it was worth the wait to do it right. So, let's just pick up right where we left off. Today, I want to talk more about something almost nobody puts on a conference slide. Almost nobody brags about it. And almost nobody warns you about when you are starting in security. And that's scoping. You're listening to The Cyber Riddler, where we decipher the offensive and defensive side of the cyber world. I'm Ahmed Mrabi. The scope is a wish, not a map. The first nightmare is the scope that's really just a whitelist. A client hands you a single IP address and says, test our security. And that's not a scope. That's a vibe. What's missing? They're actual crown jewels. The customer database that lives somewhere else. The forgotten subdomain running a 5-year-old app. The third-party portal that has a trust relationship with everything else. A scope that's too narrow doesn't make you safer. It just guarantees the report describes a building while the attacker walks in through the parking garage you weren't allowed to look at. The second nightmare is the compliance checkbox problem. The client doesn't actually want findings. They want a clean PDF to hand to an auditor or a customer. You can feel it in the kickoff call. Every time you mention going deeper, there is a little flinch. Here is the thing. That's not automatically evil. Sometimes a company genuinely just needs their checkbox this quarter. But the danger is when nobody says it out loud. The tester thinks they are hunting real risks, the client thinks they are buying reassurance, and the report ends up serving neither goal. The fix isn't moral outrage, it's honestly in the room. Are we doing a compliance assessment or real adversarial test? Because those are different engagements with different prices. I saw customers only want checkbox. They don't care about the findings at all. They think security is just a waste of time and their system is secure. I'm not joking here. Throughout my career, I saw customers think they are really secure because they are not connected to the internet. Their services is only internal and they only have a static website. Or I saw customers, they think they are secure because their application is written in Rust and other vulnerabilities don't apply to them. And these people will eventually get a hit that can kill their entire infrastructure and they cannot recover easily. Third, rules of engagement. The rule of engagement problem is that rules of engagement written by people who never run a pen test before. No social engineering, no testing during business hour, no testing outside business hour either. Don't touch production, but everything is in production, right? No denial of service, fair, but also don't do anything that could possibly cause an outage, which, if you read it literally, means don't test. Let's be real here. The IT will claim that they have 100% replica of production in test environment. Most of the time, this is not actually correct, because since it's a test environment, sometimes developer will install extra libraries to test their code or to do some other task they forgot about. And sometimes there is an urgent fix needed on production and they don't have time to test it on the staging servers. So They end up uploading extra files or debug code straight to production, forget to delete it afterward, and it just stays there forever. I once saw a client who wanted to check some settings in their client dashboard. So they developed a module that takes the user ID as an argument, generates a valid access token for the user, and logs into their dashboard. Imagine logging into their client dashboard and after generating some valid access token purely for testing purposes. They left this module settings there for years under something like test-dashboard.php. Remember, real attackers don't sign your rules of engagement. So every restriction you add is a deliberate trade. You are choosing to leave the door unchecked. That can be a perfectly reasonable choice, but it has to be a choice made knowingly rather than a point nobody ever discussed. The fourth nightmare, the timeline math nobody does. A client asks for a thorough test of his environment and give you 3 days. He doesn't realize that 2 of these days will get eaten by a VPN access that doesn't work, credentials that arrive late, IP that needs an etc host record they forgot about, and an emergency contact whose invocation. Nobody does that honest math out loud. Recon takes real time. Validating a finding so you are not just reporting a false positive takes real time. Writing the report, the actual deliverable that client paid for, takes real time. When the timeline ignores all of that, the tester silently cuts corner, and the client never knows which corner. This is the reality I've been seeing throughout my career. When a client needs an urgent pen test, what they actually needs is the checkbox to launch a new web app or a service. They don't care about the findings. In fact, they are hoping there won't be any, so they can launch as quickly as possible. Then, there is another type of client who needs an urgent pen test because they just got breached. And honestly, you don't need a pen test, my friend. You need an instant responder, someone who can actually tell you where your application is failing and how the attacker got in. A pen test won't do you any good in that moment. It won't give you the answers you are looking for. The fifth nightmare that I want to talk about in this episode is the asset owner who finds out on Tuesday. The people who own the system don't know the test is happening. The engagement gets approved by a director, but the team running the application learns about it when their alert light up. Now, you've got a panicked instant response on a test that was authorized, wasted hours, wasted goodwill, and a defensive team that no longer trusts the security department. Good scoping isn't just technical boundaries. It's a communication plan. Who knows? Who's the emergency stop? Who do you call at 2 a.m. when something looks too real? If these names aren't written down before the test, you're already lost. So the takeaway of this episode is, every scoping nightmare is the same failure underneath. Assumptions that never got said out loud. The client assumed one thing, the tester assumed another, and the gap between them became the actual deliverable. If you take one thing from this episode, whether you run tests or buy them, it's this. The scoping conversation is the engagement. The kickoff call is not paperwork before the real work. It's the real work. A boring, awkward, detailed scoping conversation is the single highest leverage hour in the whole project. You have been listening to The Cyber Riddler. If you live through the scoping nightmare of your own, I'd love to hear it. Reach out, tell me your story, and maybe it could end up in the future episode. Don't forget to share this episode with anyone you think is interested about this topic. And don't forget to follow us on X at cyberriddler or me personally at Al-Murabi'. Until next time, this is Ahmed Al-Murabi', signing off.